So, I guess the best time to do this is now. Like, a lot of people tell me to get back to telling the stories and talking about this side of things. So, I decided to talk about this side of things. Like, the best way to do this is while it's still on my mind and I can remember some of this, because there was a lot happening in Washington, D.C. when I was growing up. Every 4 or 5 blocks, gangs controlled territory, and you needed to know somebody in the gang that everyone in the gang knew and respected, or you didn't get to walk through that territory, especially at night. And so, like, we had to walk almost 5 miles to school. And I remember getting searched by kids going to school because I didn't know how to fight. And, like, we went to Catholic school, so we were wearing business casual in kindergarten. We had to wear a tie, long and short sleeve shirts seasonally, and navy blue slacks or corduroys seasonally. And upperclassmen from kindergarten to 8th grade, the upperclassmen at about 3rd grade had to wear blazers. The underclassmen, all underclassmen wore sweaters. And that's how we went to school, looking like gentlemen, running into these kids who looked like beat up alley dogs, asking for money, saying, "Give me a quarter, give me some money," stuff like that. And if you tell them you don't have any, they say, "Any money I find on you I can have," which meant you got searched, especially if they were twice your size. So, learning to fight didn't come easy, needless to say. And walking to school, because we were too poor to have money for the bus, or just wanted to walk instead of getting on the bus, because on the bus was the same thing. It was all of them against one, or all of them against two. It was always a numbers game where the kid who could fight the best, most of the kids worried about, and then a bunch of kids would gang up on one kid, and then it would all take turns. We called it being picked on. Nowadays they say abuse. But back then, everybody fought. It was just what was done. And the kids that didn't get fought, or the kids that didn't fight, got beat on and beat down. and molded into the shape of fist all over them. I've seen some serious beatdowns, even to the degrading kind, in showers and stuff like that, where kids were doing this stuff to each other and trying to do it to me, and then come home to lesser serious stuff, but alcoholics ruled the neighborhood and threw parties all night. During the latter 60s, my neighborhood was on fire. And whatever wasn't on fire had been tear gas bombed so bad and locked down with padlocks and bolt locks and wood and stuff that whoever broke into the place wouldn't get 2 steps inside the door before they asphyxiated and fell out on the floor. So at 9 o'clock, nobody was allowed out into the streets when Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. And I think that was for like 3 years. There was like a 9 o'clock curfew where you couldn't go out into the street after 9 o'clock. It was martial law. There were armed troops 1 block away from my house, sitting in jeeps and personnel carriers with rifles. And we snuck out anyway and went out in the street to see what was going on because the streets were on fire. And I remember that it broke out all of a sudden. And my grandmother had been caught downtown in her building and had no way to get home because there was no buses running. And so I believe a bunch of my mother's friends got together and I insisted on going. I was about 13 and we went downtown, and I mean, your eyes were stinging from tear gas. There were bricks all over the street. And stores were burned down. Some were still on fire. Windows were broken out. There were military men walking through the street with helmets on. And it was a pretty big scene of bedlam. And needless to say, she was very glad to see us because she thought she was going to be trapped down there. I know that I wouldn't want to be trapped down there.